You ever been to a super cool bar where it had like a monitor that had all like the menu and the drink specials, and there was like a video going on, and it just looked really cool and it was really impressive? Well, I have. I was actually recently in Charleston, South Carolina at a bar, and they had basically an LCD screen that had all their menus and their lunch specials and their drink specials. And I thought, that's really cool. I really wish I could do that in my bar. I'm not at a random bar. Actually, in my basement, I actually built the bar behind me, but I wanted to snazz it up a little bit with some what we call digital signage. That's what I'm talking about, is the ability to have our display anything you want on a screen. And you can do this at a restaurant. You've probably seen this done at hotels for a convention where all the sessions are in different conferencing rooms and it lists where it's at. Or you've probably seen this at an airport where all the flights and the luggage is at. That's digital signage. Someone or something is controlling what's displayed on those screens. And I wanted to take a minute to let you know that Zoom actually has digital signage. It's actually included with the Zoom Rooms license. And when I say digital signage, I mean for everything. One Zoom Room license gives you unlimited digital signage. So I wanted to try Zoom Room digital signage in my bar, and I wanted to showcase how easy it is to do and showcase how I built my own Zoom Room digital signage here. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through my bar and show you where I put it, and then I'm going to actually show you how I installed it. And this isn't all just nerd stuff. There's some construction involved. So it's going to be like watching HDTV a little bit in the first part of the video. And the second part of the video, I'm going to walk through how I configured my Zoom Room digital signage. So let's take a little tour. So we're going to switch from the DSLR camera to my iPhone camera so I could walk you over to the digital signage that I just built. But in the meantime, you can see this is my production studio today. My lights and my mic and my other key light. So let's just walk over and see what we got here. All right. So yeah, I spend a lot of time here because I have buddies over. We watch the game, hang out, have a couple of cocktails. But I also spend a lot of time here because you're gonna recognize this room. This is where I do all my Zoom production and my Zoom meetings. So as you can imagine, 90% of my time is spent down in the basement, and I wanted a cool basement to hang out with. What I'm about to show you is my digital signage that I built with the Zoom Rooms. And you can see, obviously, I have TVs all around, but I wanted a cool way to display like what's on the menu if I'm cooking something or what drink specials do we have. So I did this. The entrance to my room is covered by this big barn door right here. And when I have parties or have guys over, I just shut the door. So when I shut the door, I wanted to reveal something cool. Let's see it. I'm just gonna sit down and hang out and close the door. Hidden behind the door is my Zoom Room digital signage. And what I did was I built, and I'll show you in the video, I'll show you how I built this flush into the wall with this custom frame and this menu. I actually designed the menu on Canva, and you can see it's pretty cool. It's the Kelly bar. So now you want to see how I built it? Let's go. All right, so the first thing I had to do was obviously pick the place where I was going to install the Zoom Rooms digital signage. I kind of knew where I wanted it because I wanted it in the center between the wall on the left side and the barn door when it was fully closed. So I measured the center and I picked my spot, and then I held the monitor up to that spot and just traced it with a pencil. And then I went back and used a Dremel tool to cut it out. The problem being is that I have no idea what's on the other side of this panel where I'm going to cut out. So I knew I had used my stud finder to find a stud in the middle, but I didn't know what kind of obstacle I was going to tackle beyond that. I was just hoping it was just a simple 2x4 and I can cut it out, but that's not what happened. So once I removed the drywall panel, I was left with this mess. As you can see, it is not a 2x4. If you can't see, it is two 2x6s, which to me means that's a load-bearing wall. My worst nightmare. Because now I can't just simply cut that out. I literally have to reframe that entire wall, or at least that section of it, so I can keep that load-bearing wall stable. So you can also see some cross members there. Those have to be removed as well because I have to have that TV fit to this space. So that's the next project. We literally have to cut out both of those 2x6s and then reframe this entire section. Okay, I got the 2x6s out. I got the cross members out. I've relocated them on the bottom. Next, and I didn't take a picture of it, I'm sorry, I literally have to run a new header across that load-bearing pillar and then connect it to the other pillars on the other side, the both left and the right. I'm sorry I didn't take a picture of that. I totally forgot. It took me a few hours to do, but just know that we reframed everything, and now that load-bearing wall has been dispersed to the other pillars as well, and now we're free to go forward. Also, you probably noticed the electrical Romex cables there. These are okay there. There's a slight adjustment because they're about halfway through the 2x6 and I need about 4 inches of clearance. So all I did was drill another hole into that 2x6 and push those backwards. They're fine where they're at. So before I rebuild the headers and relocate the cross panels, I certainly want to see if the monitor is even going to fit in this space. So I just did a quick test fit to see if it works. And shockingly, my measurements work. It fits perfectly. So what I didn't tell you is that any digital signage requires some sort of computer to program or to upload photos or videos and then upload that to the display. Something we have to install beside the TV, obviously, is a NUC, or a next unit of computing. It's basically a small form factor computer. And on the left side, there's plenty of space. I'm installing that NUC on this left side. It was a little NUC. I'm going to actually put it on the screen right now that I got from Amazon. I think it was $130. And that's going to run our Zoom room compute and memory. So we're going to connect that computer to the network, obviously here locally, and then we're going to configure that to display all the images and the videos that I'm going to show you on this display, obviously later on in this video. So know that that's going in as well. And I put that on the left side. I didn't take a video of it because I forgot. So now we've installed the electrical behind the monitor, as well as installed our NUC on the left side like we talked about. So now we need to mount the monitor inside of this area that we created. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do a regular TV mount or an LCD mount because obviously there's drywall behind it. What I wanted to do is what they call a pressure mount. Since we've reframed this entire thing, there's literally wood around this entire square. We can pressure mount this with wooden shims, and we're going to put shims all over the outside of this monitor because it's really actually a really light monitor. I think it weighs like 4 pounds. It doesn't need a lot of support to mount in there. We can do that with these pressure shims and then push this monitor into the seams of the frame that we created. And that's a way easier way of mounting it. Plus, I really don't have a way to get behind it to mount it anyway. So this method worked best for me. And again, it's really light, so it doesn't take a ton of pressure. So we'll just align all these shims to this monitor, make sure obviously that it's completely level. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Dremel tool and cut all these shims off so they're all flush with the TV. You're not going to see any of this stuff. I'm going to make it look a little bit pretty with a custom frame we're going to do in another video. Okay, now that we have everything level, everything's perfectly shimmed, we probably need to turn it on and test it and see if it works. Hopefully my electrical job is sufficient and we can fire it up. I actually already fired up the computer, so I actually already know the electrical's on. Let's turn it on, and now we need to probably do a whole bunch of updates to the TV, a bunch of software. That's you know how it works when you get a new TV. You do a bunch of updates and install everything. This is actually an Amazon Roku TV, so I can actually, if I wanted to watch TV, I could, but I have plenty of other TVs I use already, so I don't need this TV. It's purely for digital signage. All right, so now that we've reframed everything, we've installed the computer, we've installed the monitor, we need to just clean some stuff up because we need to make it look pretty now. So I'm just going to wipe all the dust off the wall, all the drywall dust from the Dremel tool, all the wood shavings from cutting the shims. And now we need to repair some holes in the wall that I made when I was doing this. So we're just going to respackle everything and get everything looking really nice so we can install our frame. Okay, now that our spackle's dry, if you've done any drywall repair, you know your favorite part is sanding all that stuff smooth. It creates a ton of dust. So I literally just try to bring a vacuum and vacuum as much dust as I can. Anything else, I'll just wipe off. So let's get everything ready for paint and let's go to the next step. All right, so our spackle's done. We've cleaned up everything. Now we're ready for paint. And we're just going to touch up the spots that we obviously spackled over and make it look really pretty. We want to get ready for our next step, which is basically to make that custom frame to go around that monitor. Now we need to custom make the frame that we're going to put around, obviously, this digital signage because you don't want to see any gaps or the ugly shims that we put in there. We want to make it look real pretty. So what I did was I went to Lowe's, got a 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece of wood, and I stained it with Minwax. I think the color is called ebony. I pre-stained the whole thing. It's just easier that way instead of staining it while it's on the wall. And then I just framed the outside of the monitor. You can see, obviously, I sanded all the pieces so it looks really good. And then I framed it, obviously, from the top and the sides. The part of the bottom is kind of a little bit trickier because the TV does have an infrared sensor. And if I covered it up with framing, I wouldn't be able to turn on or turn off the TV or use it in any way. So what I did was I measured where the infrared sensor is, and then I actually drilled a hole through that bottom part of the frame. You can see that there's a little hole there. That's really the only reason I have it there. Obviously, I nailed everything into place with my DeWalt nail gun. And then once that was all done, the frame was all done. So once the frame's all nailed up and the holes drilled and everything looks good, I go back with wood putty and I putty over all the nail holes and I putty on the corners to make sure there's no seams or gaps or holes. And this nail putty is not hardening, so it's best to take off the rest of it with just a scraper. And you can see I just scraped all the rest of it off, just so it's a nice flush finish. And then I get it all clean, and then I'll ready to stain it one more time just to have a really good coat. I don't think I'll do that in the next step. Okay, so we're ready just for final stain. I've cleaned up all the putty off of there, kind of just wiped it off, and then we're just going to use the same stain that we pre-stained it with that Minwax ebony, and we're going to go over it with one more coat just to solidify that black color that make it really look really nice. Then you just wait like 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, and then you just wipe off the excess. It's an oil-based stain, so it takes a while to dry. So once that's done, I think it's ready to rock and roll. You can see I already have the Tattooed Nerd logo playing on the Zoom Room digital signage. I think it turned out great. Actually, just to make sure, because I should have tested this before, I wanted to make sure the barn door actually closed over the frame. I kind of knew it would, but I kind of had to test it. So this is the final product, the Kelly Bar Zoom Room digital signage project that I did last weekend, and hopefully you enjoyed how I did it from a construction basis. The next video, we're actually going to go through exactly how I configured everything from the Zoom Room side, and we're also going to go through how I designed this video in Canva. I think it turned out great. Obviously, I have a bit of a biased opinion, but it's a really cool addition to my bar downstairs and really shows you the power of Zoom digital signage. So obviously, this is just a home or consumer example of how you can leverage the power of Zoom Rooms and Zoom Room digital signage. Think about the business consequences of it, right? A hotel, a conferencing area, a hospital, even education, even your business. You could literally expand this across globally for individual offices and showcase tons of information using Zoom Rooms digital signage. In the next video, I'm going to go into exactly how I built the Nut computer for this application, and I'm going to go into exactly how I configure this in the Zoom admin portal. And then I'm going to show you how I created this video for the digital signage in Canva. So a lot of nerd stuff coming in the next video. This video was all kind of just non-nerd stuff. If you like HCTV, you might like this video. So I hope you learned something. I'm Patrick Kelly, the Tattooed Nerd.